Hello, my name is Elena Levrens, and I'm going to talk to you today about a study I'm presenting titled Family Systems and Rheumatoid Arthritis, Associations Between Diagnosis Acceptance, Perceived Social Support, and Relationship Satisfaction. I'm really interested in the family role, dealing with a family member that is diagnosed with chronic illness. Chronic illness is something that last over a year and you have to seek active treatment for, but particularly I'm interested in the lifelong chronic illness. I chose rheumatoid arthritis for the study because it is a lifelong illness as well as a physically debilitating disease. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune inflammatory disease that attacks the joints, and the inflammation of the joints actually causes irreversible bone erosion and physical joint deformity. So people with rheumatoid arthritis or RA struggle with activities such as self-care and grooming, as well as work around the house, office work, in the field work, all those types of things. Not only is this disease physically debilitating, but it also affects your mental health as well. Depression and anxiety are two of the most common symptoms associated with chronic illness and rheumatoid arthritis specifically. There's no cure. While there are some medications and lifestyle changes that a person can make to help those symptoms or potentially slow the disease's progress, the disease will ultimately attack a person's joints, joint lining, and sometimes eyes and internal organs for the rest of their lifetime. So this disease, I actually have rheumatoid arthritis, so it's really important to me, but also in general, I think it's really important to understand the family role in chronic illness diagnosis, especially those with physical and mental limitations, and how to accept that, support each other, and move forward in a satisfying way. So my literature for this study, I began with family systems theory. I love the idea that the family is dynamic and growing. It can adapt and overcome. Bowen, 1974, and Broderick, 1993. Specifically, I was interested in subsystems within the family system. So this is Broderick and Smith, 1979. They talk about how subsystems have different rules, have different functions, and the family system as a whole. And I'm specifically interested in dyadic subsystems, so two people. The next literature I looked at was diagnosis acceptance. There was not a lot of literature in this area, really none. Some in psychology with diagnosis acceptance and commitment, but particularly what I looked at here was a little bit of literature with chronic illness and identity. And then for the acceptance piece, I looked at studies with infertility. That's where I saw a lot of that acceptance and commitment moving forward. So I adapted some information from the literature in infertility. The next section I had was social support and family subsystems. Like I mentioned, I'm focused on the dyads here. Social support is this verbal, nonverbal communication. It's specifically designed to support a close interpersonal partner through a difficult time or distressing event in their life. Albrecht and Alderman, 1987. This support is coming from those close, stable relationships like your family members. And I went with perceived social support. Perceived social support is like the feeling that an individual has that their network is going to be able, so in this case, the family is going to be able to provide support if needed, Holstrom et al. 2015. And then perceived social support is also most commonly associated with positive health outcomes. So that's Dorrance Hall and Shibeb 2020, Levin et al. 1986, Weber et al. 2004. A lot of sources there. Perceived support is highly correlated with positive health outcomes. The last section of my lit review is on relationship satisfaction. So satisfaction can be understood as a general positive and negative feelings one has for their family member, or that they feel like their family member would meet their important needs, keyword important. So that's Roosevelt et al. 1998 for relationship satisfaction. All that literature led me to my hypotheses and research questions. So my first hypothesis is that if the acceptance of diagnosis from both the chronically ill individual and their family support person is high, and the perceived support from the chronically ill person and the family support person is high, then the satisfaction levels of both the people in the dyad will also be high. My second hypothesis is that if the levels of support given, so that is the family support person saying they give a lot of support, are higher than the support that the chronically ill person with RA perceives that support level, then there might be dissatisfaction in that family dyad. My last hypothesis is that people receiving support from their family support is high, but either the family member or the person with RA does not accept the diagnosis, then I think there will also be less satisfaction. So those are my three main hypotheses. I have a lot of nuances within these variables and within the fact that I am doing this dyad. So I will probably come up with a few more, but that's exactly where I want to get started. Now, for the method, I'm going to recruit people, particularly in rheumatoid arthritis support groups on Facebook, as well as people just on my personal social network and in my arthritis groups, phone contacts and things like that. I will ask first the person with RA to complete the Qualtrics survey. This person needs to be diagnosed with RA and be over 18 years of age, and then also have a person in their family that they feel gives them support. After completing the survey, then the person will give the name and email of a person in their family who they feel supports them. This person must also be over 18 years of age. I'm doing the roll-ins for this, so it's just anybody with those interdependent and attachment types, structures that just feels like family. So it could be a variety of things. And to randomize this and the types of relationships that are reported on, I'm going to have them do the person in their family with the most recent birthday. So if I were to recruit today, then it would be December, November, October birthday, things like that. I hope to get at least 120 people total, so that's 60 different dyads. Obviously, we'd love to get more, but 160 is the baseline. For my data collection, I'm doing full on 5-point Likert scales for all the variables. The diagnosis acceptance, I modified from several different infertility scales. And so since I did a lot of big modification with this, I would definitely want to make sure to take all these scale sections and test them in SPSS for internal consistency and make sure I have a nice homogeneous set. I'm also considering a test retest, maybe ask about 25 people to take the test and 30 days later, ask those same 25 to take the test again, just because I want to make sure that we're consistent, reliable about all those good things. For perceived social support, I adapted scales from Myers and Bryant 2008. These are perceived social support from siblings. So I adapted the prompts a little bit, but these again will be on 5-point Likert scales. Since I did adapt the prompts, I could do some testing as well. I'm confident that these modifications of the prompts are pretty small, but I am open to doing that if necessary. Lastly, I took the relationship satisfaction scales from Roosevelt et al. 1998. These were the satisfaction global items. I didn't make any changes to these, and these were also be in a 5-point Likert scale. I hope to do some linear regressions and multi-level modeling to test my hypotheses. I'm also interested in doing some t-tests and regressions for a lot of those individual support and acceptance levels. I'm just really interested in all, maybe even doing some different types of statistical analysis for the different types of family relationships that we have in the study. I'm really optimistic. I think there's a lot to do here, and I'm excited to see where that goes. Results, I think that the person with RA will have high diagnosis acceptance just because they are in these RA groups. I have met them through my RA network, so I think their acceptance will be high. I'm not sure if their partner's acceptance will be high. I think that might depend on variables of like when the diagnosis happened and how the disease has progressed and if they knew before or after and what, like I said, that role. Perceived support, I do think that the person who gives support will perceive that they give more support than the person that receives the support feels they get. I don't imagine those will match up. They might, and that would probably lead to more satisfaction if they do match up, but we will see. I'm also thinking about adding a section here where it's like, what kind of support out of these 4 categories do you want to receive? What kind of support do you think your family member thinks you want to receive? And then on the partner level, what kind of support do you think your family member wants to receive? What kind of support do you think that you give? It might be really cool to look at that level too. Lastly, relationship satisfaction. I think high diagnosis from both, high support, matching from both, going to be more satisfied. I do think satisfaction will vary on relationship types. It might also vary with variables, like I said, diagnosis date, disease progression, all the things like that. I'm really interested to see all the nuances. I'm so excited for all these things. Last part of the discussion, there's a lot of theoretical implications for this. For family systems and subsystems, I think that whole dynamic adapt overcome is perfect for chronic illness. I think it can really expand family systems and subsystems in that area. I think that diagnosis acceptance as a concept in communication is going to be super key for the literature. I think that'll be really cool for both my work and the general work in chronic illness moving forward. Also theoretical, rheumatoid arthritis is not a highly studied disease. Most of the chronic illness I see is like diabetes and cancer, actually, which I don't personally define cancer as a chronic illness, but it does fit some definitions. So I think highlighting these physically debilitating diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, MS, I think lupus, all those types of things are the right direction to go for the literature. I'm really excited for that, the future of that. Practical implications, I would love to do this like in an applied way, even if it's just some journaling prompts or some conversation starters to help make sure that the diagnosed and their family member support, they're on that level, they're accepting the diagnosis, they're supporting and receiving and giving support in the way that is needed and making those long-term sustainable changes for the family. Limitations and directions. Obviously, only people with social media will be able to participate. I primarily have access to women, so I think that will skew the demographics a little bit. It has potential to be locationally vast, but I'm not sure how ethically diverse it is. I think family is a term with many interpretations. I chose the role lens for this study. Many people actually feel like the groups on Facebook are a family themselves, like welcome to the RA family, this, that, and the other. They do a lot of things. So I think that future research should, one, study biogenetic family lens, because one, this is a hereditary disease. I got it from my mom, who got it from her father. So that would be really interesting. But then two, I mean, if you want to look at role lens of family, I would love to look at, how these groups function online as a family of their own, people with the disease, people that understand. Rheumatoid arthritis affects a variety of people at a variety of ages and rates, so it might be beneficial to explore a specific age range of the disease and then consider variables like when was the diagnosis, treatment plans, all that kind of stuff. I mean, everything. This is a really exploratory. This has a lot of variables. Really excited to see where it goes, but of course, always benefits to be specific. In conclusion, it's really important to understand the experience of those affected by chronic illness such as rheumatoid arthritis. It affects the individual physically, emotionally, otherwise. The family is affected by this diagnosis as well, but the family can actually play an active role in promoting acceptance and satisfaction by providing the right kind of support. So thank you.